Sir, are you listening to me, sir? Sir, I'm talking to you. Sir, 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 are.
Welcome back to the channel. I am the Lord Scrub, and female pastors, right? One of the most wonkiest subjects in in Christianity. Well, let's see this guy's reaction to it.
Sir, are you listening to me, sir? Sir, I'm talking to you. Sir, 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 are you listening to me, sir? Sir, I'm talking to you.
So you see him, he's kind of just like, yeah, I would just pretend you don't exist. I'm gonna, every time you try to swivel around to kind of, make it seem like I should listen to you, he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And so the classical take on female authority, female pastors, all this good stuff, deacons, all like elders, various things, is that nah, you can't do that. And I'll be honest, I think this perspective, people who essentially want to push for female pastors, I think their perspective comes directly from a lack of biblical influence. And with this video, I'll try to hopefully give some clarity, because I think this is probably something that isn't touched on enough. Not these verses, by the way. The whole Bible is public. Everybody can read the same Bible that I read. But I think that it's not just the roles, but specifically when it comes down to it, because everything when it comes to household, even the layman, the atheist, can sit up here and quote various concepts that come from biblical precedent, right? The man should provide. The man should, at the very least, push and share the lion's share of the load when it comes to bills, finances. He should take care of his family. He should have that responsibility. Where does that come from? Well, it's very simple. It comes from the Bible, and I have a verse on deck. But this perspective comes from that ancient godly principle of verse. What is this? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. But I want you to understand that the head of every woman, every man, is Christ, and the head of every wife is her husband, and the head of Christ is God. So there is a hierarchy of authority, which inherently relates to responsibility, right? Like, if you have the power, you need to put it to work. You need to take responsibility and influence that, like, essentially what you are responsible for. And so when it comes down to it, the church is built like the family structure. If we know in the household, the man should obviously like be a leader when it comes to organizing the service and making sure that everybody is well okay. Why do we look at church so differently? And the answer is simple: because we detach the church from the family. And yet the Acts style church, meaning when you go read the book Acts, where do you find the apostles? Directly living in the household of people. Like, they're in your home. They are quite literally directly instructing you from your household. Why? Because the household structure built the church. You don't think so? Well, Adam and Eve, the image of God. The first ever biblical family started out because, quite literally, God wanted his order and structure a certain way. And so when God designed the household structure, he designed it quite literally. Firstly, he designed his image to look like himself, but he designed it quite literally that everything else should be built around it. Communities built around the household. His house built around concepts set in the household. And so I always want to start there, because when it comes down to this subject, people want to put whether somebody should do something based on their ability, even though God quite literally says, my strength is glorified in your weakness, i.e. you can't do it, so your dependence on him is required. And I'll put the verse on screen. But yeah, people try to use ability, like, oh, look at her, she's able to preach very well. who cares what we all accepted in Jesus Christ, and given the roles that we have because we had the ability, or was it quite literally because God is working in us? Just some food for thought. But then we go into Ephesians chapter 5 verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, get this, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. The role of the husband is to, in the same way Christ provided, in the same way Christ quite literally laid down his life for many, to provide, to secure, to protect, to preserve many, so too is the husband like Christ unto his wife, and obviously unto the children as well. Obviously, the fruit of the womb is directly the flesh, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Like, it's literally our substance. Like, so naturally, that literally we take care of that. But anywho, the point is, notice how the husband is portrayed in accordance with his wife. They're not equal. If anything, somebody is taking care of somebody else. And this concept, by the way, is so biblical that 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 8 literally says, but if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and get this, especially for members of his own household, so the household belongs to him and he's supposed to provide for that household, he has denied the very faith, the Christianity, Jesus Christ, the gospel. This is literally the faith of God. You have rejected, and not just you've denied it, but you're worse than an unbeliever. This idea of you're gonna just spill your seed, or you're gonna get with somebody and bump and grind and leave and go get the milk, buy some cigarettes. That is a foreign concept to Christianity. That is abomination, is essentially what Paul is communicating to Timothy here. That is horrible, as that is the worst of evils. Why? Because it is literally denying the essence of the faith, which is, like Christ we live. Very simple. Like Christ we live. That is the essence of the faith. And obviously, if Christ is who he is, then certainly we are formed around his likeness. We are conformed to his example. We are supposed to be on the fast track of being like him. But just as a little trivia here, because I won't read all of this, but Numbers, this concept is seen in the Old Testament when it comes to the, I guess you could call them power dynamics, but really it's just a difference of authority. This is Numbers chapter 30 verses 10 to 16. I'll save you guys the trouble of basically summarizing it, but I'll leave it on the screen for you guys to read it yourselves. But in verse 16 it says, these are the statutes that the Lord commanded Moses about a man and his wife, and about a father and his daughter, while she is in her youth within her father's house. Naturally, the Bible is just to summarize verse 16, naturally the parallel between the father and the daughter and the husband and the wife, the daughter or the woman is under a man's covering. Somebody is providing for her, somebody is taking care of her. So naturally, you're supposed to go from the covering of your family to the covering of your one flesh, aka the marriage covenant, from covering under father to covering under husband. But basically, it talks about how, like, just to summarize this briefly, I'll zoom it up just to make sure you guys can read it. Pause to read if you want to read the fullness of it. It talks about how a husband has the power to essentially, like, take the vows or the promises of the wife, that take basically something she had to keep, and essentially disannul them, because now he has the authority over her to essentially take dismantle any burden she's put upon herself, any oaths she's under. He has the power to break them, which, I mean, when it comes to quite literally how Jesus is our husband, or likened to our husband, I'll put a verse on the screen for that in Romans. It's very interesting how beautifully God set this up so that quite literally we can see Jesus in it, but we can also see that, oh, everything is framed around what Jesus is doing unto us. Humanity was married to the law, which was a rigorous standard that no man could keep, in the sense of this law is written to be kept in your mind 100% of the time, in your heart 100% of the time, and with your actions 100% of the time. Breaking any of this, right, and any of this with this or with your actions naturally causes you to be a criminal. And so quite literally Jesus broke our association with the law by marrying us like to himself. We became one spirit united to the Lord as his body, and so now he has power over us to disannul previous engagements that we were essentially bound to it, chained to. And so too does the husband have this ability over his wife, quite literally liberate her from any oaths she must or previously were required to keep. Everything is different when you become one flesh because your head now is able to decide things like this, which indicates quite literally the husband has a different bit of responsibility, a different and distinction of role from the woman. But I implore you read more about this because again, this relates to the church. These are the policies, these are the ethics that relate that essentially form the basis of church. Men and women are inherently different. Their role is different. It's not a matter of strength or ability. It's a matter of, okay, has God made us a particular way and does he look at us differently? If the answer is yes, then certainly we have to function accordingly to his design. But I just find these verses very interesting because again, people have common sense when it comes to the household, right? Like man must work, get a job, provide for his family. When it comes to church, we want to kind of do things differently, even though the church is literally the second household, right? The Bible literally says the household of faith, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll put a verse on the screen if I can find it. But yeah, yeah, that's all I have to say for this video. What you guys think in the comments? Do you think I hit the nail on the head about the missing piece that people are missing from this type of conversation when it comes to uh, authority and how things are designed, or are we still going to keep arguing until kingdom come about stuff like this? I don't know, but hopefully you were blessed. God bless and stay blessed. See you guys in the next video, and appreciate you guys for making it this far. I hope I inspired you a little bit and gave a bit of context to what the scripture talks about. But with that being said, see you guys in the next one. Take care.